RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 YouTube talk show. We are live for a Tuesday edition of the People's Talk Show. Excited to be back. Looking forward to connecting and sharing with you a little bit of a visual aid I put together on the fly to try to put more of the pieces of the puzzle together towards how it looked like this week a quasi de facto gold standard is in play within the next 48 hours. Primarily geared towards the countries that are labeled unfriendly. And so we're going to talk about that as well as a couple other subjects, but hope everyone is doing well. I want to welcome any first-time viewers into the community. Definitely let me know where you're watching from. We'd love to give you a quick shout out in the chat. Then when the phone lines open up, 313-462-0027 is the number that you can call and let your voice be heard. All right, so let's keep moving right along. I'm going to acknowledge a couple people. And then we will jump in and talk about a couple of articles here. Spent more time trying to put together the visual aid than actually grabbing my articles. But at this current moment, you guys all know what's going on. And also curious to get your thoughts on the interview that I put out earlier from yesterday by Nathan Fisher, diving into just trying to uncover some of the numbers. And so I'm going to have him on again, and he's going to actually put out some PowerPoint stuff and just walk us through so a deep dive with numbers and figures. And so we definitely looking forward to doing that. So I want to make sure I welcome any first-time viewers, as I mentioned, and also in order to stay plugged in, as well as the bell notification, and hopefully you'll be notified when we go live. And then also, if you find any value out of any of this back and forth during this live show here, or any other interviews or things like that, feel free to share them, because the goal is to reach more people by basically bringing some information before them that they probably won't get anywhere else unless they go looking for it. And so what better place to be a blessing to people other than just put information in front of them, let them choose what they might do or might not do. It's on them, but you played your part. So, all right, let's jump into the chat real quick. Let's see what we got here. We got Stacker NZ checking in as well. We got Dude Boy. We got Bobby Seals, 007 checking in. Let me see here. It says, does anybody hold and play with a silver bar coin in their hand and watch RTD? The epitome of playing with your weight. And so we're going to touch on the importance of weight and how, it doesn't take much weight to make a hell of a difference. We're going to dive into that further. We got Major Ken checking in. What else we got here? We got Crazy Truth, LBP checking in. Let me see here. Miles, Nacho Fool. We got Timo checking in. We got Johnny from Cali checking in. Pay me in XRP, if I'm not mistaken. Las Vegas by way of Baltimore. Appreciate you, Black Blog checking in. Apologize. We got Robert. Let me see here. Marcellus from Cali. Appreciate you, my friend. Frank checking in. Silver Beast. Tony B is with us. ISCP Incorporated checking in from Philly. Rod B, Nelson G from NY. Okay, fair amount of people, man. Appreciate you as always for joining in. I want to rant less, get to the nuts and bolts of everything, and let you guys decipher what's real, what's not, and correct me where I need to be corrected. But as I mentioned, running a little bit behind, I was trying to put together some pieces of the puzzle to the bigger picture as always. So you guys know how I love my visual aids, and nowadays I just got more on my mind than I can actually put together in a visual presentation. But just for those that might be new, I'm going to just give you a little bit of, of the beginnings. And so ultimately what we're experiencing now on the global macro scene in reference to this whole shift out of the petrol system into something else, it's all because of this bit, this thing right here. So basically we've reached the end point to where, as you guys can see, Biden's face is hanging over the cliff just because the dollar is already sub-zero in reference to what it can purchase. And so it's time for alternatives. And here we are now being introduced to a quasi form of a gold / alternative currency standard for oil. And this is just one step out of many that will lead us towards what I always talked about, which happens to be the great changing of the monetary order. And so this is, one of my most, this sums it up right here in a nutshell. And so we're going to witness week by week, probably month by month, more news and more information about what will come next and who will be issuing it. But we know it's going to be introduced. It's going to be founded upon initially some form of weight. And in particular, it looks like all it takes is 1 gram to make a hell of a difference. So we're going to dive into that. But let me just jump right into the visual aid I just put together a moment ago. If I can find it, where'd it go? Give me 1 second here. Already let me get my stuff together here. Let me grab my. I just made the thing, and now I got to go grab it again. So give me 1 second here, and I'll bring it back up here. Too many windows open. And so here is just a visual aid I put together on the fly, real quick, to begin laying out some of the pieces of the bigger picture here. So, as you guys can see, here we got Russia reopens the gold window. And so it was closed in 71 by the West. And it looks like this week, basically within the next 48 hours, we want to find out how well this reopening of the window actually, how it goes. But basically at the very bottom of this, so I put some flames there just because, things are starting to shift. And when you smell smoke somewhere, there's usually a fire. And so thought that was just a good little analogy to why we're here at this point. But in the very center, let me zoom in, and I'll try to walk through this as best as I can without, because once again, I just try to put stuff together that makes sense. But as of right now, it looks like based upon what occurred in the very center with the SWIFT system, i.e., due to sanctions and the removal of Russia from being able to access their own, or what they thought was their own, resources and reserves, i.e., the currency as well as the metal for whatever that's worth. But due to the SWIFT system removal or denial of service, basically Russia stepped up to the plate and said, hey, let's shift the game a little bit. And so what does the world need? The world needs energy. So at the very top, I put ultimately what will be the deciding factor as to how this next monetary restructuring plays out, because it's based upon energy. And right now, Russia, having been closed off intentionally and deliberately, oil still makes the world go round. And so what better way to allow your oil out of your country other than you starting to set the standard, or the de facto petrol system standard, to basically revalue the worth of energy in another currency or another monetary instrument outside of the one here in the middle, which is the Federal Reserve note. And so there's going to be a lot of unfortunate ramifications and problems coming from this, just because it's going to cause problems on the Western side of the world when it comes to the gold paper futures mechanisms that have basically controlled and manipulated the price of metals for the last close to 50 years. And so underneath that X, if you guys can see, I put the two primary deciding vehicles towards the actual price discovery. Let me zoom in here if I can. And so I have the CME group and the LMBA underneath that, and an X over them, just because this new reintroduction of measuring energy in a metal, in particular 1 gram of gold on top of some other alternatives, will begin to put pressure on the price mechanisms controlled by the West. So one by one, bit by bit, we're going to see a lot of issues when it comes to the paper game, which will be problematic. Ultimately, it's all going back to the Federal Reserve, because they are the ones that are the primary overseers of this currency unit right here, which the world eventually will have to make some tough choices pretty soon. And the choices will break down to basically two categories and two types of people, I guess, when it comes to how they interact with Russia and their energy, for starters. And as you guys can see here, we have the friendly countries and we have the unfriendly countries. And so the friendly countries will be those that have basically signed up to, logged on with, and partner with the BRIC nations predominantly. And so as you guys can see behind, we have the 5 nations here. And then I have just a little visual of something like 5 representing the majority of the countries that have already basically not jumped on board with the whole sanctions aspect of the current monetary order. And then to the left of them, you see the unfriendly countries, which happen to be predominantly the G7 plus a couple extra nations, which make up a very small portion of the world population in of itself. But because the monetary order was always favored and ran by those nations to the left here, these nations here have to make some tough decisions. And that's why things can get kind of spooky, because we know they all have counter plans to what they can do. And we can know the cyber situation. We're hearing more about the power grid. There's more articles floating around. One article in particular I just saw was about, some type of author of some type of a Hollywood actor or author, or no, I'm sorry, Hollywood producer was talking about his concerns with the power grid. And it was like, who gives this guy credentials to talk about the power grid? So anyway, on and on and on. But so basically, we're at the point where it's gonna be a two-tier type of system: the friendly countries, unfriendly countries, and of course, whenever the rules are unfavorable for the current overseers of this current paradigm, we have the unfriendly countries as of now in cahoots with the friendly. So there's no good guy, no bad guys here. How do we measure the value that we need in real world resources? And so here you see, sugar, wheat, grain, copper. And I always love to point out the little table behind all this, the periodic table. How will the world measure the true value in some currency form moving forward? And then that's when I think the current situation with China, and I'm sorry, with Russia is important, because Putin has basically stepped up to the forefront and said, hey, we're no longer going to give you our energy in your currency. We're going to either use ours. If you're a friendly nation, you can use your currencies, or you can use the rubles, or you can use Bitcoin. And better yet, I'll do you a favor. I'll make it cheaper for you to actually use alternatives rather than a dollar, because ultimately, by Putin or Russia not necessarily pegging the central bank operation of what they're willing to purchase gold for in the form of 5,000 rubles. So you see a 5,000 ruble here and 1 gram of gold, which, as I mentioned before, this 1 gram figure, it could be somehow, some way equated to 1 barrel, or who knows, but there's going to be a possible mad dash towards the exit of dumping Federal Reserve denominated liabilities and needing to get into something real in the form of metals, or if you choose, you can use Bitcoin. That's also an option. And then, of course, the ruble is definitely doing some things right now as far as it appreciating in comparison to other fiat currencies. And so already there's been some type of confidence booster or shift towards these de facto petrol system payment methods led by the ruble for now. And of course, gold being the cornerstone of that. And so one thing I want to touch on real quick before I stop ranting, I'll open the phone lines, get your thoughts on all this, but 1 gram of gold. And so for several years now, I've been talking about the power of a gram. 1 gram of gold can make a hell of a difference. And so right now it looks like with 1 gram of gold to 5,000 rubles, that right there can be the benchmark door opener to how things move forward. And it basically gives the Western nations and the friendly nations a chance to cash in their dollars. And of course, right now, the dollar to gold ratio is like 1,900 pieces of paper for 1 ounce of gold. But yet 1 gram of gold, I want to say, depending on where you buy from, might be 60 or 70 pieces of paper in terms of Federal Reserve notes. But equate that, when you exchange that for Russian rubles, it's about less than 50 Federal Reserve notes or so. So that $20 or $25 discount there could buy you a little bit more oil if you actually cash out of your fiat currency notes and get into the ruble, or preferably for even cheaper discount, you use that 1 gram measurement. So right here we have a quasi gold standard in play. And so this is, of course, just a elementary phase of things. This is just literally the beginning. It's going to become more complicated, and we're going to have some kinks and things like that in the road moving forward. But I just wanted to lay out some preliminary thoughts based upon the data given to us as to what's coming. And so either on Russia's side, in the form of being friendly to them, and you can get a little discount and use your currency as well as rubles and things like that. Or if you're unfriendly, we want solely rubles or gold. So you take your pick. But these are some choices that the world will have to come to grips with, and we'll find out how that plays out. But once again, this runs the course of being problematic for the overall monetary system, because if there's any threat of losing this monetary shift by the West, they're going to play dirty. They're going to definitely do something that will cause more harm than good to the world. But anyway, no matter what happens, whether you have gold or, looks like in this case, the digital asset space, it's ultimately all about being able to actually get real world resources without having to go through the fiat Federal Reserve SWIFT system moving forward. So we will find out. But let's talk. Let me open up the phone lines and also share with you real quickly, if I may, because I want to do a deeper dive into this, but I just want to lay it out there. But just here's more information out here, more people commenting on it, more bloggers talking about it. And of course, no mainstream sources are talking about this, but this is, pretty big information here, because by them simply coming out with a number and a measurement of weight in gold and linking that to energy, that right there to me is is hella big news, because that is a semi phase one standard being set. But anyway, Russia moves to toward gold standard for oil. It just talks more about the things we've touched on. And so here's that little tweet here that was a couple of days ago that initially announced this particular peg to a gram. And I think this gram move is going to be, is going to be unbelievably important, because right now, let me just look. So here we have, let me refresh this page, because I was looking at this earlier. But here is 1 gram of gold priced in rubles. So that's 5,400 rubles for 1 gram of gold. And so the central bank basically had quasi pegged it at 5,000 rubles. So they are literally willing to take a little bit of a loss with that extra 400 or so rubles. And at this current moment, in my opinion, it's not about winning and losing in reference to being able to, make a profit off of, or profit rather in dollar terms. I believe it's more so about Russia and their central bank wanting to set the standard and just literally say, 5,000 rubles to 1 gram is the floor that we'll build upon from that moment on, because the actual price of that gram of gold denominated in rubles will continue to go up in time as the Russian ruble strengthens against other fiat currencies, ultimately leading towards the decline of metal priced in other mechanisms, i.e. the Federal Reserve note. So we're going to have some issues one way or another, because it will be two choices that people have, whether they use rubles or they use Federal Reserve notes for now. And, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But just some things happening in the world. And so I want to touch on this, because this is extremely old news, given the fact I think I talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago. But here's an article from Wall Street Journal that came out yesterday. So as I mentioned, whenever it hits the mainstream news, it's already extremely old. And so this was old because I touched on this, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago. But it says Russia built parallel payment systems that escape Western sanctions. And of course, talks about Crimea sanctions spurred Russia to build its own mirror payment system, taking this thing out of the Visa, MasterCard's exit. So this is just interesting. But here you guys see one of the bank, presidents or whatnot holding up a variety of cards that basically links the mirror and the Chinese chip system together. And so, of course, as mentioned, it talks about starting in 2015. And, hey, they're just deciding to tell the Western world that Russia already had plans. So it's good to say with this current rollout of this phase one, with 1 gram of gold to 5,000 rubles, that's, probably, phase two-ish or so towards the bigger picture. But just what's happening. So here is also, I want to touch on this real quick, because as I mentioned, the friendly and unfriendly countries, those countries that are labeled as friendly, they're going to have to make some decisions, because the West will eventually start putting pressure on them to come out and back the whole sanctions side of things in regards to this whole Ukraine, debacle that's taking place as a distraction. Or we might get more celebrities deciding to slap each other to really clog up the airways and to, create more noise out here. But here's just some countries here. And of course, we know the Ukraine is one of them, European Union, United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and all these other countries, Japan, New Zealand. So these, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, 21, 20, 18, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So these 25 countries or so are labeled as the unfriendly ones. So we'll see how they fare moving forward, because they're going to need energy from somewhere. And most of these nations decided to abdicate that towards the Middle East. And of course, the Middle East is in bed with Russia and China towards that One Belt, One Road / EAEU movement. So, and then here's the last article here, and I'll stop ranting, open the phone lines. But it says Russia offers to accept Bitcoin payments from friendly countries for oil and gas. So, yeah, we will have more developments in the days ahead, especially this officially kicks in on the 31st. So basically heading into April, we'll find out what's real, what's not. But this is what's happening, man. This is a little quick synopsis of Russia reopening the gold window. And so we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, let's talk real quick. Let me open the phone lines. Let me get some thoughts. What am I missing? What should I add? What should I delete? Let me know. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. And it looks like I missed some calls already. So give me a call or highlight at Rethinking the Dollar to stand out. I'll jump on and go from there. It says the digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in history of man. Are you participating or sitting on the sidelines? Buy XRP. Once again, I can understand and see your optimism towards utilizing the digital asset space to benefit off this global transition, but also keep in mind at this current moment, all of these digital assets, especially XRP, if you're in the US, is denominated in Federal Reserve note terms. And so as this whole chaos unfolds, the instability in the monetary structure will make it so that it may look good in digital terms and numbers, but I got my thoughts towards that. And actually, I got some more stuff I want to talk about in a minute, but there's an opportunity everywhere. I wouldn't bank my financial future on it, but to each his own. Hello, caller. Which name are you calling from?
Hey, Mike. Joe from Reno. How you doing?
Joe, doing good, my friend. Give me a quick thought. What's on your mind?
Okay. Well, first of all, wow. Yeah. Well, I've always thought that Bitcoin was a Trojan horse, but now I'm starting to think Bitcoin might be a Trojan horse for the good guys to divert attention away from gold itself.
Yeah.
And go pay attention to Bitcoin over here. This is this new thing. I think Putin's too smart for Bitcoin. Or maybe he really needs those bits in a ledger.
Right.
But his speech that he gave was all about physical assets and get out of, electronic and digital.
Right.
So you could say maybe that doesn't apply to Bitcoin, but sounds like Bitcoin to me. And he's really reopened, like what you said. He reopened the gold window. Gold is linked to oil, which it should be. And we'll see where the price goes. Like there were some assumptions that it would be 1,000 barrels for an ounce of gold, some link like that. And obviously that gets us to the crazy $100,000 price in gold or whatever. But who cares what the price is? It's a physical asset for another physical asset.
Right.
And we will see how much gold is really out there. He's put a bottom, I'm sorry for rambling, but he's put a bottom on gold, but he didn't put a top on gold. Like Jim Rickards kind of went through how the U.S. could move back to the gold standard by putting a we'll sell here or we'll buy here, but we'll sell when it gets to this level. Hence, gold is now between like $10,000 an ounce, but it can't go above 12 because the central bank is a buyer or seller. Putin never put a what he's selling gold at. He just put a what he's buying gold at. So this is interesting. Like this is, I didn't know how we get here, but we kind of got here.
Right. That's very true, man. It's going to be very entertaining to say the least. But appreciate you calling for my friend. Thank you as always.
Okay, take care.
Yep. All right, yeah, good stuff, man. And so I see a lot of back and forth on crypto, and so ultimately, as I mentioned before, regardless of what your preferred method of, I guess, transferring your time, energy, and effort, into tomorrow and a month and the next year, whatever that is, ultimately it's going to be about going back and getting real world resources, the things you need. When it's time for you to go get those items, what will you be using it for and how much would it cost you? That's ultimately what it boils down to. And so whatever method you use, more power to you. I think it's better to stick with things that have been proven, tried, and tested, things that are of the earth and have a very long-lasting track record, as well as an atomic structure that is, forever type of thing. So anyway, but then again, on a speculation side of things, like the stock market right now, like stock market, especially the bond situation, that's going to be a whole nother can of worms. But I think we're going to run into the point at some it's sometime soon where people are going to be confronted with the reality of that, a lot of things that you think you own, it's all subject to being able to use it at certain times. Will it be last certain events, world events? If the power goes out, what do you really own at that point? You're going to find out, as well as what can be a good store of value moving forward. And of course, gold, silver have always been that anchor. And the digital asset space is new. Like, I really believe that, Bitcoin is literally just a beta version of whatever is coming. But yet it's been so much pushed by the Michael Saylors with, creating macro strategy, a subsidiary to his original company to buy more Bitcoin. I got my thoughts on Bitcoin, man. And, BlackRock, they got a much bigger say in how this all shapes out than people are willing to admit. And the Bitcoin we have today is not the Bitcoin from 12 years ago. That's for sure. So, yeah, we're gonna find out how things play out. And I'm not, I don't want to be a hater, but I want to have a realistic talk and let people know that, just because it's shaped like gold and they got gold emblems, when you type in Bitcoin, if you got gold coins with a B in the middle, don't mean it's gold. It don't mean it's something that is going to be around for a long period of time. Just like, Michael said, about 100 years. Like, I find that very hard to believe. Very, very hard to believe. Fiat into crypto equals IOU into IOU. Nothing equals nothing. Think about it, people. Miles, appreciate you, man. All right, let me see here. Let's talk. Hello, caller. Where are we calling from?
Mike, what's going on, man? It's Karan from Chicago.
Karan, what's going on, my friend? Give me a quick thought.
Not much, man. Mike, just wow. I got through watching a documentary yesterday about Netflix and how Netflix got on. And I'm looking at the situation. It's almost like the same thing, man. Putin doing the whole thing with gold is the equivalent of Blockbuster adding a candy aisle. You know what I mean? At the end, that was their Hail Mary. We're gonna put a candy aisle in, and that was it. I mean, when an idea has come, nobody can stop it, man.
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm thinking about it. So I mean,
that idea is the digital asset space in general, or is it Bitcoin primarily, or what? Because those are two wide, broad spectrums nowadays because of how institutions have infiltrated the space so heavy now that not a lot of what we're experiencing now in the digital asset space is grassroots movement, from the people, by the people. This is a lot of institutional, Jamie Dimon is involved now type making. Jamie Dimon got more of a decision than most people think and realize as to how this is going to shape out. So, but that's not how it was sold to us, though.
I got addictive personality, Mike. So I'm still, I went down a rabbit hole, but I haven't stopped. So I'm still like every day. So I'm almost like, I'm probably 100 hours in, man. I tell everybody, if you don't have at least 24 hours in, strictly looking at this coin, reading and podcast about this coin, and you don't really have an educated opinion, man. And I'm so deep down there that now I understand that the digital asset space is one thing, but that this is the layer that this thing is going to change everything. Just the way we do everything. Yeah. This is the first. This is like, it's the easiest way to get the internet. Yeah. You know what I mean? The internet, when it started off, we didn't know that we thought it was just, you got mail or chat rooms or, we didn't know we'd be doing this. We didn't know that this could be this cape. That's what we're going to do with this. We're not going to know what we're going to be able to do with this. Right. Hey. And that's the thing. So
that's real, man.
But that's all I got for you, Mike.
I wish it plays out. I hope it plays out that way where it gives people alternatives. I'm all about alternatives, whatever works, whatever, can actually serve the purpose of protecting, preserving, as well as the privacy side of thing. Let's not forget that, man. So, but appreciate you, man.
All right, take care, man.
Yeah, be good. It's going to be interesting times, man. Like, from a speculation standpoint, man, like, if you're a trader, because I was thinking about this earlier, like, the idea of investing, trading, speculating, three different categories of how people use their energy, time, and effort in trying to grow what they have. And based upon zero or negative interest rates, bond yield curve, completely going belly up. And, what the East is doing with shuffling the deck of the monetary world order, what really is considered investing nowadays? How do you invest when something is artificially priced? Like the housing market is artificially priced. The equities market is artificially priced. Is that investing or is that gambling? Because it has to correct when it correct, it's going to be extremely painful for the majority of people. So what's the best, of course, everybody's situation, but what's the best place to, protect, preserve, and weather the storm? Like, that's where your average person don't really have the IQ to be able to, really take advantage of all these opportunities like a lot of complicated people can, because they have the knowledge and the skill base to, get in, get out, do what you got to do, short things, long things, whatever. But your average Joe just don't have that information. So you either speculating or you sitting out and waiting on something in the form of a better opportunity, whatever that might be. So I'm doing too much ranting. Anyway, let me get some more calls. I apologize. I have missed a couple calls. Let me get this. Forgive me. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from? Hello? I hear myself. Hi there.
Hi, is this Rethinking the Dollar?
Yes, it is. What's your name? Where are you calling from, buddy?
My name is Michael. I'm calling from Minnesota.
Mike from Minnesota. What's going on, my friend? Give me a quick thought.
Well, I am from Odessa, which is now Ukraine. It was the former Soviet Union when I was born.
Okay.
And so I have, to me, this issue is a bit more personal than to most Americans. But basically, my point is that it's good that Russia finally did something proactive instead of just being reactive like they've been for the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So I think what they were doing is they were selling oil to Europe. Europe was sending weapons to these neo-Nazi factions in Ukraine that were attacking ethnic Russians in Donbass that declared their independence. So they were basically enabling this because they didn't want to lose out on the money. So they had a number of things they could do. One thing would be just to cut off the gas. And the German government admitted that without Russian gas, their economy goes belly up.
Right.
Or they could have priced it in rubles or gold-backed rubles, or a combination of gold and rubles. So it's just good to see them be proactive and kind of put their foot down. They had to put their foot down when they tried to get Ukraine into NATO, or when they talked about it.
Right.
And this is a bit of a different topic, but our government did that on purpose.
Yeah.
They knew that would provoke a war. And 2 days or something before Russia invaded, they pulled all the Americans out of Ukraine. Now, our government, in the 90s, there was a lot of dissent about expanding NATO eastwards because they knew that it would create tensions and maybe even provoke a war. And this is when you could talk about these things without being called a Russian agent. Now, if you are objective about it, then you get smeared.
Yeah.
But
yeah, let me ask you a question. So would you happen to have any, family still left in that region? And, what are you hearing about what's happening now? Is, we're hearing completely different stories depending on what news source you're going to. So are you still connected back with the country?
Yeah, I actually, it's, like I said, it's a bit complicated. So the area where I'm from, it was controlled by Turkey. The Russians defeated them in a war in the late 1700s. And the city where I was born, it used to be Russian speaking. Now it's a mix of Ukrainian and Russian. So I have family there, like distant family I haven't talked to in years. And then I have family in Mariupol, which saw intense fighting until about 2 days ago. And I have family in Kiev. I have family in St. Petersburg. So it's, I talked to my mom about it. She keeps in touch with them, and they're okay so far.
Yeah.
But what's going on there is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Ukraine has a lot of neo-Nazis in their government, in their police, in their military. One is called the Azov Battalion. They and Right Sector are the two biggest ones. They have, from what I've heard, tens of thousands of people. So Mariupol was their headquarters. That's why it saw such intense fighting, because the Russians wanted to clear that area of the Azov Battalion. And a good place on YouTube to go is Patrick Lancaster. He's the only Western reporter that has documented all the people that have been killed in Donbass for the last 8 years.
Okay.
Good. And there's been a Western media blackout. So people don't know about this.
Right.
And, a lot of these witnesses in Mariupol that this guy interviews, they said that the Azov Battalion, they've been blocking apartment blocks so people can't leave. So they're using these civilians as human shields, and they're also firing on civilians. And this is, many people that have testified to this.
Yeah.
So, I know the Russians have killed a lot of people. I'm not trying to excuse what they've done, but this was something where they tried to resolve it diplomatically for 8 years with the Minsk agreement, and that Ukraine was probably ordered by NATO to disregard it, and they kept attacking these civilians in Donbass.
Yeah.
And at some point, Russia just got tired of it and invaded.
All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you calling, and I'll definitely check out Patrick Lancaster. I see his YouTube channel, so I'll definitely dive in. And so other than just, looking at, the monetary side of things, I don't really dive too deep into the actual events as they occur day to day, but knowing that a lot of the stuff is done intentionally to distract us from the bigger picture in regards to the monetary system. So, of course, whenever life is lost, it's not a, minor thing, but, wish everybody the best over there, man. And, appreciate you calling and sharing what's happening, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. I'm a big fan.
All right, appreciate you. Be good.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Appreciate the call. Yeah, and that's why, as I always mentioned, it's good to have people with a variety of, walks of life, variety of experiences. Everybody have a different story to tell. And that's why, I enjoy having a chance to have the People's Talk Show so people can call in and let their thoughts and their expertise be heard. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from? Hello? Going once? Going twice? All right.
Hello, Mike.
Hey.
Mike.
Yep,
hey, sorry, it's Dwayne from the Midwest.
Dwayne, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Listen,
Uh-huh.
Mike, I think I might have changed my mind.
Uh-oh, what happened?
About Bitcoin.
Uh-oh.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Okay. I know low blood pressure and TB probably get mad at me, but here, listen. Listen. Okay, I think that what's going on right now is trust.
Mm-hmm.
Putin saying he don't trust nobody,
mm-hmm.
and he's saying he want his stuff and wait.
Mm-hmm.
So if he don't trust nobody,
mm-hmm.
don't nobody else trust nobody. But you just can't use crypto. You're gonna have to need something of substance.
Mm-hmm.
But only thing about with using your weight is it's not as transferable as crypto.
Right.
So we're gonna have to have a basket of currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if all the currency people don't like them, what do people trust and what do people use? They're already using Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I believe, and I said this before on your show too, Bitcoin is the new SDR. Because we can swap payments in that. Okay, we don't trust you, we don't trust that. Which leads me to believe it always, from its inception, is always was positioned to be that, because it's not no Yaki Tasimoto, whatever character they put around it.
Yeah.
It was always positioned to be the new SDR.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's gonna come. But crypto people are gonna have to go through some pain, because the market is gonna shake out a lot of suckers.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, you got to look at the Act of Security Exchange Act of 1933 and 1934.
Mm-hmm.
Crypto is going to have to go through something like that,
have
something like the Security Exchange Act of 1933, 1934, except for it'll probably be with a international body
mm-hmm.
versus it just be the United States. So people should do their thing in what they do with that crypto, but remember, they're going to shake out the suckers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be the one in his musical chairs getting caught before the regulators come, because they're already swimming around. You just talked about Jamie Dimon.
Yeah.
The sharks are already swimming.
Yeah.
So they're rating on that. So what are your thoughts, Mike? And that's all I got.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, man. Like I always mention, like we're in this time frame not by coincidence, just because this was already predetermined. And I think, having introduced the digital assets class, leading with Bitcoin was a part of the initial plan. And of course, everything that's come about since then, it all plays into just the digital transition. And of course, I think all these currencies are in their beta form, because what's available now may not be standing 10, 20 years from now, just because technology will advance. Right. And I don't see the consensus of a lot of these, programs or protocols coming together to where they're going to be able to make the changes necessary in time to stop the quantum as well as the AI stuff that will eventually take over a lot of that stuff anyway. So I do believe that it's just a way to transition us with as much distraction as possible, because think about this, with failing fiat currencies, the automatic response will be to run to gold and silver. But now, because there's opportunity and competition out there, more people are excited about the digital aspect of things, because it's immutable, it's untraceable, it's can be transferred in 2 seconds around the world, and all those selling points, which are true. But then again, who funded all that? Who created all that? The same people that's running the system right now. So that's just my little 2 cents.
that leads me to another question, Mike. So is crypto a friend of gold or enemy of gold and silver?
I think depending on, I think the technology, the cryptographic tokenization of assets can be used in a very friendly way towards tokenizing real world assets. If there's a trust factor and all that other stuff put in there, it can be very useful. It will be the future, flat out. But yet these different products and projects, most of these are Ponzi schemes anyway, because they get in, get out type of thing. So out of 8,000, 9,000, maybe 100 actually serve a use case to where they are disruptive. We can do without the banks. We can do without majority of government, because it can all be put on some type of blockchain in smart contract format and establish trust between parties without an intermediary. So we can do away with our government with the using the damn blockchain in a sense. So yeah, but it's just a matter of who's writing the code and who controls the code. And when it comes to proof of stake, who holds the biggest bags that will ultimately determine the overall consensus. And then on the proof of work side, who runs the mining rigs will also play a big part in this as well, because you shut down most of those hot mining rigs, it'll be easier to have a 51% attack against any of those projects, and then goes the confidence and trust of those projects. So it's going to be an ongoing battle, because it looks like they're trying to do away with proof of work because Ethereum is going to proof of stake, but mind you, that's driven by the banks. So we'll find out what happens, man. But hey, let me get some more calls, man. Appreciate you.
One more thing. Yeah. One more thing, Mike. Y'all remember. There's a security that y'all got to start thinking like a security. And I remember, and that's food as an asset class. Food security, people. Take it easy.
100%, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Hello.
Hi there. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Aaron from Iowa.
Aaron from Iowa. What's going on, my friend? Give me a quick thought.
Oh, Mike, I didn't realize it was you. Hey, how's it going? Anyway, I went down to pick up some chicken feed at a local farmer. We both farm. We both do our thing. I finally convinced him to get some silver. I'm going to send him later the list of buyers, because he sees inflation just like I do with his goats and his cows and everything.
Yeah.
But I want to let you guys, I want to give everybody in a city a warning. Now, I can't even make this up what this guy in Omaha said. Okay, I'm near Omaha, Nebraska. I live about an hour away.
Okay.
We were talking about the food shortage that Biden was talking about, and I'm telling you guys right now, the Amish farmers around here are preparing for it, because they can't get the seed they need to grow for their communities. And that's a red flag for them. They know that we need to stock up for the next, they're planning for next winter, stocking up food. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're getting ready for it. Now, a guy in Omaha told my buddy this, and I can't even make this up. He goes, I don't believe there's going to be a food shortage. I don't even know why we need farmers, because all I got to do is go to Walmart and get my food.
Are you serious?
So I'll leave it at that. And you guys in the city, you need to start preparing, because the farmers here know.
Yeah.
So I'm just letting you guys aware. Right. All right. Thanks, Mike. Great show.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Yep.
Wow. The Amish are getting their calories up, man, and having issues doing that. Let's get some more calls in here. Let me get this going. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? LBP, give me 1 second. Let me put you on speakerphone. My bad. LBP, what's going on, my friend?
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voicemail.
My bad. LBP, give me a call back, man. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike, Tony from Oakland. What's up?
TB, doing good, man. Give me a quick thought. What you got?
One more again, man. I ain't heard it in a minute. One more again.
Yes, sir. What's going on with you?
Well, look, I just want to touch on a couple of things about this. Not XRP and say, but Bitcoin and then gold.
Yeah.
With Bitcoin, it is a way to hide your finances. And that is what Putin is trying to do, is hide his finances from the U.S. from stealing it all with the way they say they accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the gold, I don't think that they have officially opened up the gold market, because if you open up the gold market, you start at zero and everything gets rebalanced from there. And I just don't think that we're quite there yet. And for my guy Miles, Dwayne from the Midwest, that's my guy. He made mention the SDR, and BTC and all those other things, that they aren't backed by anything, it's just all fiat, all of it.
Yeah.
So you have to. I think that digital currency is good if you could get it in the right context, and that's what we need. Because a closed mouth don't get fed.
Right.
You need to open your mind to what really needs to happen and look for that thing that's happening, because eventually they're going to have to find that way to where everybody eats, everybody in the world eats, because there's not going to be one person say, oh, well, I'm eating and China's not eating, or I'm eating and Russia's not eating. There's no way that's going to come down like that. So what we need to do is, it's going to be digital, but we need to look at what is it going to be that's going to be able to do it for the whole world, not just an individual country.
Right. I agree. And then also what you mentioned about Bitcoin and China, or Russia rather, basically been money or funneling money and using that for a payment mechanism, whatever. And my thing is, because that's a public ledger, you're not really hiding anything. So the U.S. has the forensic capabilities of tracking transactions in real times, IP addresses, and all that stuff with that particular coin. That's why I'm not sold that that's the best method to use. Like, they'll be better off coming out with their own that offers them privacy amongst their friendly, countries, rather than using Bitcoin. But to piss the West off, sure, mention Bitcoin in public so to get governments excited about it. But I wouldn't think they'll be using Bitcoin because they can track and trace what everything coming in and out of Russia. So that was my thought on that.
I said the same thing, but if I'm a thief and you a thief, you gonna tell on me? All right, brother, I'm gonna let LBP get in.
Hey, man, appreciate you, man.
Later.
Yeah. Oh, man. Hello, caller. Say where you calling from. Hello. Hi there. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Kevin Miller, calling from Maryland, brother.
Kevin, what's going on, my friend? Give me a quick thought. What's on your mind?
Okay, and so I just tuned in, Mike, but what I'd like to share is, and please elaborate on this if you would.
Okay.
That there's a distinctive difference in the crypto space, and I don't think that the general public as a whole really understands what's going down. What I mean by that is this: so the executive order in Biden and the CBDC, the Fed coin, there's a difference between what they're doing on the federal bring about this mass adoption with the Fed coin and other cryptocurrencies, because the other cryptocurrencies, though they're all on a digital platform, because they're not centralized, they're decentralized. And I'll give you an example. I'm representing. It's not a plug. I'm representing the Gold Standard Bank and the Gold Standard Partners. And so what we're availing to the general public is not only having your own cryptocurrency with the G99 coin in the leading world, but now, because we have our own blockchain, now you're off the grid. And instead of them tracking, controlling how you transact and move around your resources and obtain your goods and services, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's do it on our own terms.
Right.
So you can be your own bank and you can be free from the world system.
Right.
That's my point.
Hey,
that's my point.
No, but I feel you and I hear you. And definitely, there's more than enough, projects, our grassroots movement projects that can offer people the benefits of having their own community as well as payment mechanisms to use. Biggest thing is just having a catch on to where it can be, accepted well beyond their own reach. And then also with the G99, it's Harold Sykes and that whole crew there. So I'm familiar with that. And, that was, I've been watching that extensively over the last several year or two. And, I once they got away from gold and they went towards the blockchain, that's when the red flags went off. And then that's when all the broken promises came into play, to where I, steered clear of that stuff, just because, like that stuff right there, just was, too many red flags for me.
We're grateful though, because that you mentioned, I think it's that you mentioned that, because even though Harold Sykes wasn't able to fulfill his promises, Mr. Joseph Haidt was able to take it further and make that pivot into the crypto space, and we're doing very well right now.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best kept secrets on the planet because of everything that's attached with the project.
Yeah.
It brings a lot of value.
Yeah.
To the platform.
Right.
And so I want to thank you for your time.
But hey, appreciate you, man. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for calling.
Bless you, brother.
Yeah, so let me real quick, just for the sake of trying to better clarify and to things down to a more simplistic level, just for people who, because I was thinking about this the other day, like, using the words interchangeably, we got, crypto coins, we got digital assets, we got central bank digital currency, all those buzzwords now are mainstream. But I'm like, this is all about cryptography, utilizing software, ultimately computer code, to create software that has a purpose. And from that, they spin off derivatives from these certain projects, i.e. protocols, and they use them for certain reasons. And so here's just a simple definition of cryptographic tokens. That's what I'm talking about. There's how many ever cryptographic tokens? There's, probably 8,000 or some cryptographic tokens in existence right now, but they all serve different purposes created by different people with different intentions. But here are 4 of the primary features and benefits, and all your favorite cryptos fall into one of these categories or multiple. If they cover all 4, that gives them more utility. And so it says a cryptographic token is a digital unit of value that lives on the blockchain. That's all it is. So you got, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, whatever it is, it exists on the chain itself. You have a private key that allows you to have access to a certain amount of units on that blockchain. And that's the bare minimum. It says there are 4 main types. There's payment tokens, utility tokens, security tokens, non-fungible tokens. And so each one have a certain distinctive characteristic, and of course it says payment token for Bitcoin, but it can be used for all 4 depending on how you fall into those categories. But central bank digital currencies, the whole reason I think that's here in this current time frame now is because the central bankers, the people that are orchestrating this entire experience, the banksters, they're using these benefits here of the cryptographic tokens based upon all the projects that have been used. They're taking the best out of those projects, putting it into their own hands, and trying to introduce it in a central bank digital currency. But they've hijacked the technology or funded it initially so that we can get to the point where we're talking about this coin, that coin. But once again, they're all digital units of value that lives on a blockchain. That's all they are. As long as the blockchain is operational, you have access to those units. If the blockchain goes haywire, there's an attack on it, there's some type of, some type of event, that blockchain runs the risk of having problems. So that's just one thing I want to make sure I cover. And looking at how things have evolved over the last 12 plus years with Bitcoin, how it's evolved into more than just a peer-to-peer digital unit for transacting in the form of cash. It's turned into the bankster's gold standard item, to where Michael Saylor out here leading the charge, trying to get people to put their entire lives in Bitcoin in particular, and basically all these premises about how it being immutable, it's sent from God and all this stuff like that. It's software, people, created by man. And of course, whatever's created by man is capable of being manipulated by man. That's why I always encourage people to stick to, at the very core, what is real, what has been here forever, and it's not going nowhere. And just to be truthful and frank, gold is, it's concrete in the kingdom of God. So it's not like it's, it's only for one thing. And that's basically taking accountability of your time, energy, effort, and skill set, for use today or saving some for tomorrow. And you're using it to get real world resources. So anyway, man, but yeah, I'm going to do a video on the Bitcoin and crypto asset space that, once again, because I'm a skeptic, dip and dabble, but I love challenging and hitting those rough buttons. I love pissing people off in reference to that, just because I want people to be realistic, not be, gun-ho, 100%, crypto and nothing else type of thing, which a lot of people here, of course, people here got their weight up first and they dip and dabble on top of that. So, but I just like having fun with it. So I'm going to put together a video and share some of my confessions of a crypto skeptic, because I haven't done one of those videos in a while. But anyway, let's get it down back, man. As always, I appreciate everybody for hanging out with me. Bless me with your time. And I appreciate the back and forth in the community there. I want to encourage people, if you have not, join the Discord and join the Telegram. Whenever you come across news stories, events, your favorite YouTuber, content creators, whoever they are, share it in those mediums there so we can stay plugged in, stay one head of the curve when it comes to just being informed. You know, I'd rather be informed than be completely left out in the dark, ignorant as to what's really going on, or being one of the people distracted by, you know, one celebrity slapping another celebrity on a stage as if it was like, you know, impromptu. That was completely staged. Anyway, but yeah, so let me just, you know, close out what I want to close out with. You know, for those that are part of the community, you know, we are a faith-based community here for those that realize what we're all about here. And it's about further advancing and producing fruit for the kingdom of God. And so here's a little declaration of dependence, you know, so I make sure I pledge my allegiance to the King himself. And of course, I use the prayer given to us by Yeshua himself as the primary staple to show my allegiance towards him. So, because it's all about, you know, bringing, you know, heaven to earth. That's what this is how this is going to end, regardless of the things that happen between now and then. But for those that want to get in agreement with me, there's power in numbers. And, you know, word says whenever two or more are gathered in his name, he's there in the midst of us. What better way to call upon him, give him glory and honor than to come in agreement on something he gave to us in the form of these words on the screen, regardless of how they were transcribed, translated from the Greek to Hebrew, whatever. People want to go over top. We get the basic premise of what's here. So I want to close out with this declaration of dependence on the kingdom. With our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts and our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, which is what we need now more than ever. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. All right, my people. Be blessed. Be safe. Stay prayed up. You know what to do. Get your food up. I see you get your food weight up. Get your calories up. Get everything you need. Just a little bit more. But ultimately, as it says here, trust the Lord for your daily bread, because he's the one that provides our sustenance all around. But in the natural, you know, we have wisdom and we have been given knowledge to be able to do practical things such as prepare as best as we can. But put it all in his hands and let him do him, and everything will work out just fine. Anyway, be blessed, be safe. See you guys on the flip side. Peace.
The next recession.
Recession will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months.
A crash is coming. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
If you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.